What's going on, guys? Let me show how easily we can create this abstract decomposition with Blender. Everything in this tutorial will be very simple and fun, so let's get into it. Let me enable screen cascades so you see what I'm doing. Everything will be displayed right here, and we can delete everything from the scene. Shift A, go to curve, and let's add a path. Maybe looks strange, but this is all we need to create this deer shape. So now if we press tab to go to edit mode, or we can change from here, we can select all these dots called vertices. We can press G to move them around, or we can press G then Y to lock them on Y axis, X for X axis, Z for Z, and you get the point. What else can we do? We can always remove vertices by dissolve vertices, or Ctrl X is the shortcut. We can also add new vertices by subdivide. Now if we go to Object Data Properties under Geometry, we can increase the depth, and we can add volume to the path. Let me fill the gaps. Here we have a bunch of settings, but the important for us things are this resolution right here, which control the length steps, and the resolution and the depth, which control the steps right here. What else can we do? If we go to edit mode, we can select these vertices and press Alt S to scale them down. Or we can scale them up. And just with a few mouse clicks, we can create something very nice. Now guys, if we go to Profile on the bevel, you see that our path changed its form. This is because it takes the shape of the graph right here. Let me explain it real quick. If we take this graph and project it right here, this profile represents this part here. So now we can tweak this part. Let's add a dot and see how we change our thing. We can also add more dots and make it more complex, why not? And you remember which resolution control these steps, right? Just with a few mouse clicks we can create something very cool. So this technique is very helpful and good to know. Okay guys, let me go back to the basic profile settings, because this is the profile I want to use for our deer composition. Now let's get a reference image. For this we can go to Pixabay and search for deer. Here at the bottom I found an image that is doing the job. I'll leave a link in the description. So now we have to go to front view to import our reference image. First let me show you how to pick up this menu. You can always call it from the tilt button. However, why it's important to be in the front view? Let me show you. If we import our reference image from here, you see that it's projected to the view we're at the moment. So let me just delete it and import our reference image from the front view. Now it's exactly where we want to be, except the fact it's on the wrong side, but we can fix this real quick. Let's select the image, press R to rotate it, Z to lock it on Z axis, and type 180. And now we rotate our image 180 degrees on Z axis. Something else, if you go to Object Data Properties, we can enable opacity and we can decrease it. So now we have the basic set and we can start modeling our thing. We can just move the vertices around, scale them down, scale them up, have some fun. and model the shape that you want. I just want to make this shape a little bit more visible, so we can see the edges and everything we're doing. For this, let's go to Backboard Shading and enable Gravity. And we can increase these settings. And now we can see clearly the details of our shape. Okay, to continue forward, we can always go back from the beginning, like curve, path, and so on. However, we can always select this part and press Shift D to duplicate it. And now we have an independent copy. Also, we can always press Alt D and create an independent copy. And now everything we do with this mesh will be duplicated with the other one. Okay, Shift D to duplicate it. Let's rotate it 90 degrees on Y-axis. We can scale it down, and we can start modeling the other shapes. Just subdivide to add new vertices, scale down, move around, and everything. Let me show real quick something. Let me hide the image, and you have to be really careful not to make such artifacts. The way to fix them is to scale down. We can move the vertices around until we have some nice smooth mesh. So let's continue with the other parts. I will speed up the video here, not to lose much of your time. Okay guys, let me show how you can set the origin point of object. The origin point is this thing right here, and it's important when we scale and rotate an object. We can go to Objects, set Origin, Origin to Geometry. Let me also show real quick what is this thing about. If we have our origin point at the center, you see what's happening when we scale and rotate an object. Let's see what's happening when the origin point is on the side. You see the difference, right? Okay. To continue, let's hide this image. We can just select it and press H. But now we hide it only from preview. To hide it from the rendering, we need to uncheck this icon right here. We can also move everything into collection. This is same as groups. Most programs use groups. Blender use collections. And this is very good practice to organize everything you have into collections for a better control of your scene and your files. Let's now play a little bit without a reference image. I really want to set the composition the way I see it, and not to be bound by some reference images and so on. For the next thing, we can duplicate the legs on the both sides of the body. For this, we use a mirror modifier. But first, let me save our file. This is important to do because you never know what can happen. Blender might crash or anything else can happen, so make sure you save it from time to time. Also, let me split the view so we see better. Make our life easier. We can set the top view here and the right view here, and we can go ahead with the leg. Let's select it, go to modifiers and add mirror modifier. Now it's set on X, but we want to be on Y axis. So let's just remove X and set Y. We can see nothing because our mesh is in the center of the Y axis. So we will go to edit mode and just grab some of the vertices. Now you can see what's happened using the mirror modifier. For the front legs, we can use exactly the same technique, but we can just copy the modifiers. We can select the both object, make sure that the last selected object is the object you want to copy from, press Ctrl L and choose copy modifiers. Here we can link materials, link object data and many other things, so this is a handy option. Let me also show you what's happened when we don't set a mirror object. Now, the legs can go everywhere. However, if we choose mirror object to be the body, and we move one of the leg, see what's happened now. So let's set the mirror object to the back legs as well. What about the head, guys? I want to rotate it on X axis. But if I do so, it's not the effect I'm looking for. So for this you can press N, go to item, and let's go to edit mode. Select all vertices, and now we have min tilt option. I want to tilt them 45 degrees, and now the head is exactly how I want to be. This is very handy, and you can use it for single vertices as well. This is what we have for now, guys. Before I continue, let me just show how we can use a tilt for a single vertices. You can go crazy and make something like a drill, or it's everything up to you guys. Just use your imagination. Now let's continue with the antlers. To create them, we will start from a single vertex. But if we press Shift A, we see that there is not much options here. To add more mesh and more curves, we can go to Preferences, Add-ons, and let's type Extra. Let's enable extra objects, mesh and curves. And now we see that we have plenty more options to play with. Let's go and add single vertex. Make sure you exit edit mode to move it. Let's position where we want the antlers to start from. And now let's go to front view. We can press tab to edit mode, select the vertex, and we can extrude it several times. We can extrude from here as well, so let's do so. Now we have the base of the antlers, and to add some volume, we will use a skin modifier. If you go to edit mode, let's just enable X-ray mode, so we can see the path. We can select everything, or just press A to select it, to select all. Now we can press Ctrl A and scale down. This time is Ctrl A, it's not Alt S, so remember this. We can also select single vertices and scale them down or scale them up. Now the antler looks flat, but we can improve this straight away by adding a subdivision surface modifier, which will multiply the faces of our mesh and make everything nice and smooth. Let's increase the steps more for render, and we can shade smooth. Let's duplicate it now on the both sides of the head. You already know the drill with the mirror modifier. Okay, for the next step, I want to parent the objects. I want to parent the antlers to the head. So let's select the antlers first, then the head, press Ctrl P, and set parent to object. Now, what this is all about. If we say that the antlers are the children and the head is the parent, now the parent can go everywhere, can rotate, can scale, and the children follow everywhere he go and everything he do. But the children can play around, can scale, can rotate without affecting the parent. So, this is all about. Let's set parent to all parts. Now everywhere we move this part, everything will follow. Just know that when using path, it will parent to one of the vertices. We model our deer shape, guys, so let's set up the scene. Move it on top and let's add a plane. We can scale the plane, scale a little bit more. We can go to edit mode, select these edges and extrude them. And let's smooth out everything. You remember which is the modifier, right? Okay. Can shade smooth, and now if you check, it looks like our deer sinks a little bit. But this is very easy to fix, we just need to insert this face. Now it looks perfect. Okay guys, let's continue by adding the materials to the scene. Let's go to the material preview. Materials tab, click New, and from base color we can change the color. Let's add this purple color to the background. For this main body part, I'll use this nice blue color. And I want to increase the metallic effect all the way up. For these legs, I want to pick this nice green color and increase the roughness all the way up. For these legs, we can pick something like a really dark purple color. I want to copy this material to the head. You remember how I can do this, right? Yes, Ctrl L, link materials. What about this part? Let's add something like a goldish metal. Let's increase the metallic all the way up and decrease the roughness a little bit. For the antlers, just white material will do the job. Let's go now to the world properties tab. And this is the light that is coming from the world. From here we can change the color, but let me first go to the render preview so we can see the changes. Let's go back. Okay guys, from here we can change the color of the world light. We can increase the strength as well. Also, here we can upload an HDRI map, which is a picture of the real world scene, and we can use this picture to light up our scene. Let's bring this to the default settings one. Let's go now to HDRI here. Here we can find plenty high quality HDRIs, and everything is 100% free. Of course, if you like what you found here, you can always support these guys on their Patreon page. And here we can find textures as well, models and everything. But let's go back to the HDRIs. Here we have these categories, so let's go to the sky and choose this HDRI. Many resolutions, but 2K and 4K will do a job for us. Let's go back to the scene and we can upload the HDRI map from here. And you can see what is happening now. This real world scene is uploaded to our 3D world scene. And now it's drawing light to the object that we have in the scene. So this technique is very handy and very fast. You can create something realistic. Before we continue with the lights, we can go to the render tab and let's enable these EV settings. We can use cycles for our final render, but while we're shading our thing we can use EV. Let's set up the EV right here to material preview, just enable these options, and now we have our EV render here. Let's go to the render tab and set our cycles here. Enable GPU for faster rendering if you have your graphic card. And let's go back to our EV render. We can move to the lights. For this I want to go to the world properties tab and reduce the strength of the HDRI map. I will put something very low for now, just to see how the lights will affect our model. Later we can increase the settings. Let's add a light, area light, move it on top. Let's increase the size. We can increase the power as well. And let me just show you real quick why it's important to why the size is important. If we set our size to 1 meter, you can see how the edges of our shadow are very sharp. If we increase it to 10 meters, we can see that the shadow is almost gone. This is because the light is coming from a larger area source. So this is good to know when you light up your scene. Okay, we can now just press Shift D and duplicate this light. We can change the point. And let's increase a lot the power here. This will be our main light source. Let's change the color as well. We can duplicate it one more time, change the color and decrease a lot the power. Okay, this is our basic light setup. Now let's continue by adding our camera. We can press Ctrl Alt numpad 0 to snap it to the view. And we have few options to move around this camera. If you press N and go to the view, enable camera to view, and now everywhere we go, the camera will be snapped to the view. Just remember to uncheck this option once you set your position. However, there is another very cool way to move your camera, and this is by pressing Shift and Tilt button. Now we can move our camera like we're playing something like a video game. We can use double V to go forward, S to go backward, Q to go down, E to go up, and we can use the middle mouse scroll button to increase or decrease the speed we're moving. So that's cool, isn't it? This is the position for our final render. So let's just hit F12 and see how our deer looks for now. Let's add more details to our deer and make it a little bit more interesting and more realistic. To do it, we need to go to the shading tab. Here at the top we have our preview, and at the bottom we have our material settings. Now we can add some extras to our material. Let's press Shift A and type Voronoi texture in the search bar. With the texture selected, press Ctrl T to add the mapping and texture coordinates. But make sure you have enabled Not Wrangler add-on. This thing right here. Okay, let's change to object for better projection. Let's connect the distance to base color. And now we can add color ramp so we can control the colors. We can change from linear to constant, and you can see what is happening here. Let's increase the scale. And yes, we can change the color, of course. We can always move the location of the texture or rotate on different axes, so just play with the settings and that's how you learn. Okay, for these legs, I want to use the same Voronoi texture setup. So let's just duplicate these nodes by Shift D. Copy, Ctrl C, paste them with Ctrl V. Now we have exactly the same setup. I want to use the normal, and for this we need a bump node. Let's plug it to normal and go to height. This is not the effect I'm looking for, so let's tweak a little bit the color bars, and we can change back to linear. What about this part, guys? Let's create something like nice transition over the effect. For this, I'll start with core ramp. Let's adjust the core. But to see what's happened, we need to plug it, of course. Now let's add a layer weight. Shift A, type layer weight, and let's connect the facing. You see what the layer weight is doing, right? Let me show you what this option doing here, blend. We can now press Ctrl B and outline the camera preview, so we render only this part and not the whole scene. Almost there, guys. Last steps. Now we can just check what else we can do to improve our final render. Something very important is to enable denoising data from here. I'll show you in a minute why. Let's also go to the core management. Here we can improve our cores a little bit. Let's change the look from none to high contrast. Let's increase the exposure a little bit. And we can decrease the gamma. Let's see what else we can improve before we hit the render button. What about these parts? They're using the same material, but the texture looks different. This is because we forget to apply the scale. It's important to apply the scale once you scale an object, and especially if you deal with textures. What about this menu? You can always call it from the Z button, and you can real quick change from this preview, so it's a very handy menu. If you go back now to the shading, we can always change the size of the texture. You know how to do this already. Let's adjust a little bit the camera preview. We can select the preview and press G to move it. Let's hit F12 for our final render. We can see that there is a little bit of noise to our final image, but this is a very easy fix. Let's go to Compositing, enable use nodes, Shift A, search for denoise, connect image to image, normal to normal, and albedo to albedo. Now we can see that our image looks perfect, without any noise. This is our final image, guys. It was a long tutorial, but I hope you have some fun, you learn something new, and stay inspired, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.